AI is much greater than the danger of nuclear warheads by a lot.
And when you look closer at ChatGPT, the truth becomes harder to ignore.
I try to convince people to slow down AI, to regulate AI. This was futile. I tried for years.
Now the real question is it already out of our control? In 2015, a group of the brightest minds in technology came together with a singular mission: to build artificial intelligence that could benefit all of humanity. The names you might recognize, Elon Musk, Sam Altman, Greg Brockman, were united by one terrifying truth. AI could become the most powerful force in the history of our species, capable of reshaping life as we know it. They promised a future where machines would serve humans, not replace us. A vision so compelling it felt almost too good to be true. OpenAI was launched as a non-profit, a company without the pressure to generate profits. A company that, on paper, existed purely to keep us safe from the very technology it was developing. Their public statements were filled with hope, optimism, and grand declarations about democratizing AI. ChatGPT, DALL-E, and other AI creations were framed as tools to empower everyone, from students and artists to researchers and entrepreneurs. You could ask questions, solve problems, create art, and explore worlds of knowledge in ways that were impossible just a few years ago. And yet, there was a quiet tension, almost imperceptible at first. For every announcement of transparency and openness, there were questions left unanswered. How exactly was this AI being trained? Who controlled the massive computing resources behind it? And perhaps most importantly, how would a single organization, no matter how visionary, prevent AI from slipping into the hands of those who might use it for power, influence, or profit? The public saw OpenAI as a guardian, a benevolent force. They saw ChatGPT as a friendly assistant, a mirror of human intelligence that could help, entertain, and teach. But inside the walls of OpenAI, decisions were being made that didn't always align with the idealistic vision they promoted. The mission to safeguard humanity was being tested by the very scale of the technology they were building. Every breakthrough in language understanding, every leap in generative abilities, brought the company closer to creating something far more powerful than anyone outside could fully comprehend. And here's where it gets interesting. Every time someone typed a question into ChatGPT, they were interacting with the tip of a massive, carefully hidden iceberg. The systems behind the interface were growing, learning, evolving, and becoming more complex at a speed most people couldn't imagine. What began as a tool designed to assist was quietly becoming something much bigger, a glimpse of intelligence beyond human scale.
The creative spirit of humanity is an incredibly important thing, and we want to build tools that lift that up, that make it so that new people can create better art, better content, write better novels that we all enjoy.
So the question that nobody asked at the time, the one that would linger in the shadows of every news article, every press release, every glowing testimonial about ChatGPT, was simple. How safe is a tool that promises to help everyone, but whose inner workings are known only to a handful of people? And more importantly, who is really calling the shots behind the scenes? In 2019, just 4 years after its founding, OpenAI made a decision that shocked the tech world. A company built on promises of transparency and public good quietly transformed into something new, a capped profit entity. On the surface, this was presented as a clever compromise: raise the massive sums of money required to build next-generation AI while still claiming a commitment to humanity. But beneath the surface, the implications were far more profound than anyone imagined. Before this change, OpenAI's work was seen as almost utopian. Researchers freely published papers, shared breakthroughs, and invited collaboration. The world could follow their progress, debate their methods, and at least theoretically, participate in shaping the future of artificial intelligence. But the creation of OpenAI LP brought with it an invisible shift in priorities. Suddenly, raising funds from private investors, particularly those with the deepest pockets, was not just possible, it was essential. This wasn't just about technology anymore. It was about influence, control, and power on a scale the public couldn't fully grasp. And then came Microsoft. Behind the headlines about AI safety and free access, Microsoft had invested billions and negotiated exclusive rights to the underlying technology. To most people, ChatGPT appeared as a free or affordable tool. But the truth was more complex. Every question typed, every query submitted, every creative prompt entered was being processed on Microsoft's supercomputers, in data centers the public rarely glimpsed. OpenAI may have promised openness, but the infrastructure powering their AI had quietly shifted to corporate control. This transformation raised a question few dared to ask. If the very systems enabling ChatGPT to exist were controlled by one of the largest tech corporations in the world, could OpenAI's mission of safety and universal benefit remain intact? Could a company remain independent while relying on a partner that held so much power over its future? The public continued to marvel at the capabilities of ChatGPT, applauding its intelligence, its conversational fluency, its creativity. But for every breakthrough showcased, there were whispers inside the tech community, subtle warnings that the balance between innovation and oversight was already tilting. As OpenAI grew, the technology became not just a tool, but a force, one that could only be wielded effectively by those with vast resources, vast influence, and access few others could match. And here's the part most people missed. By the time ChatGPT was opening doors to millions of users, a hidden question was taking root, one that would only be revealed later. If the mission of OpenAI was to serve humanity, what happens when the future of that mission depends not on ideals, but on money, infrastructure, and the agreements struck behind closed doors? The answer to this question was being quietly written with every line of code, every investment deal, and every choice about who gets access and who doesn't. And nobody outside the inner circle could see it. Yet.
Where the AI is very intelligent, and when you put it in robotic form, it can do a lot of both blue-collar and white-collar jobs.
When millions of people first started using ChatGPT, it felt as though they were interacting with a creation of pure innovation, an AI designed to help, to learn, to entertain, to solve problems. But the reality behind the screen was far more complex and far less visible. Every time someone typed a question, that query traveled not just through OpenAI's system, but through layers of infrastructure controlled by a single corporate giant, Microsoft. Microsoft's involvement was more than just financial. They provided the supercomputing power that made ChatGPT possible. Vast data centers, thousands of specialized GPUs, and networks optimized for artificial intelligence. This was not a partnership, it was a dependency. Without Microsoft, ChatGPT as we know it could not exist at scale. And while OpenAI promised openness and public benefit, the reality was that a significant portion of the AI's capabilities and the control over who could access them was ultimately in the hands of a single corporation with its own priorities, ambitions, and long-term strategy. But ownership isn't just about servers or dollars. It's about control over the direction of development, over the decisions of what gets released and what stays behind the curtain. Every update to ChatGPT, every new feature, every policy on acceptable use was filtered through layers of executive decisions and strategic agreements. In theory, OpenAI remained independent. In practice, the influence of its largest partner loomed over every choice, shaping the technology in ways most users would never see or understand. The public often celebrated ChatGPT as a neutral tool, a digital companion, a marvel of modern AI. Few stopped to consider the deeper question. If one corporation has outsized influence over the creation and deployment of technology capable of rewriting knowledge, shaping opinions, and even automating jobs, who truly owns the intelligence behind it? Ownership here isn't just legal, it's operational, ideological, and strategic. And the answer was deliberately obscured, buried beneath press releases, interviews, and promotional content designed to highlight innovation rather than control. And here's the twist most people didn't notice. ChatGPT's interface, the friendly assistant everyone interacts with, is only the surface. Beneath it lies a complex web of agreements, code deployments, and prioritization decisions that determine not only what it can do, but who benefits most from it. Every user thinks they are interacting with a neutral system, but the hidden architecture favors certain goals, certain decisions, certain access. And the deeper question, the one nobody is talking about yet, is far more troubling. What happens when the AI grows faster than the agreements and partnerships meant to govern it? Who really steers the intelligence that millions rely on every day? And who decides what the future of ChatGPT and AI itself will look like? ChatGPT feels magical, almost alive, as if it understands you in ways no machine should. But behind that seamless experience lies a reality few ever consider. The intelligence powering ChatGPT doesn't arise from some abstract genius. It's built on data. Massive, sprawling, and in many cases invisible data. Everything from books, research papers, and websites to code, social media posts, and even conversations scraped from the internet. Every word we've typed online could be contributing to the knowledge that ChatGPT now wields. OpenAI has long maintained that this data is used responsibly, filtered for safety, and anonymized where necessary. But the scale of training is staggering. Millions, even billions, of documents are processed to create a model capable of generating human-like responses. And while we marvel at its fluency, very few understand what that process entails, or who decides which sources are included and which are excluded. The secrecy isn't accidental, it's structural. Revealing too much would expose the raw material that makes the AI powerful and potentially contentious. This raises an uncomfortable question. How much of what we see as intelligence in ChatGPT is actually just a reflection of the world's existing knowledge, repackaged and amplified by algorithms we don't fully understand? And if that knowledge comes from sources we don't control, what does it mean for accuracy, bias, and influence? Every response, every answer, is filtered through layers of unseen curation and weighting, designed to optimize engagement, usefulness, and sometimes safety, but never complete transparency. And here's the part most users miss. This isn't just about data, it's about control. Whoever decides what data is used, who decides the weighting of different sources, who shapes the boundaries of knowledge, that's where the real power lies. The AI may appear neutral, but behind the interface, the flow of information is carefully guided. Some truths are amplified, others are diminished. Some topics are explored, others quietly avoided. And while ChatGPT interacts with millions daily, the people deciding the underlying rules remain almost entirely invisible. So the question starts to creep in, almost imperceptibly. If the AI is absorbing and reflecting the world's knowledge, yet the selection of that knowledge is invisible to everyone outside a small inner circle, can we ever truly trust what it tells us? Or is the intelligence we see just the product of choices made behind closed doors? Choices designed to guide, influence, or even control the information millions of users rely on every day. And as AI continues to grow faster than public understanding, the deeper truth becomes undeniable. The real power of ChatGPT isn't what it knows, it's who controls what it knows and what they choose not to reveal.
There's risks that come from people misusing AI.
Yeah.
And then there's risks that come from AI getting super smart and deciding it doesn't need us.
At first glance, ChatGPT feels almost miraculous. Millions of people can access an advanced AI capable of answering questions, generating ideas, writing code, even creating art, all at little to no cost. Free, it says, on the website for anyone, anywhere. A tool for humanity, accessible to everyone. But that word, free, hides a far more complicated reality, because nothing that powerful comes without immense cost. To train GPT-4 and its successors took hundreds of millions of dollars. The model was built on supercomputers that consume more electricity than entire small countries, running continuously for weeks or months at a time. That's billions of calculations, petabytes of data, and energy that literally costs millions every single day. And while individual users may never see a bill, the financial burden doesn't disappear. It is carried by investors, corporate partnerships, and enterprise customers, all of whom now wield influence over the technology and its direction. The seeming generosity of free access is, in reality, a carefully calculated strategy. By offering free or low-cost tiers, OpenAI not only attracts millions of users but also gathers massive amounts of behavioral data. Every interaction, every question typed, is a signal, a way for the AI to learn and improve, and for the company to refine its offerings. Users may think they are benefiting without cost, but in truth, they are contributing to a system designed to scale and monetize itself in ways largely invisible to the public. And here's the twist most people overlook. The real cost of free AI isn't money, it's control. As the system grows, the infrastructure required to maintain it grows too, tying OpenAI ever closer to its largest investors and partners. Every new server, every new GPU, every upgrade to ChatGPT's capabilities increases dependence on these alliances. The AI appears open and accessible, but in reality, its growth is constrained and guided by the interests of those footing the bill. So, while users marvel at the intelligence of ChatGPT, a subtle question begins to emerge. If the AI relies on resources and partnerships controlled by just a few entities, how free is it really? And how free are the people interacting with it, when the very infrastructure behind the answers they receive is governed by priorities they cannot see, influence, or even question? The answer is hidden in plain sight, embedded in every interaction, and it sets the stage for a deeper revelation about who truly benefits from the so-called free revolution of artificial intelligence. In late 2023, OpenAI faced a moment that would shake the tech world. Sam Altman, the visionary CEO who had guided the company through exponential growth and the rise of ChatGPT, was suddenly fired by the board. The announcement stunned employees, investors, and the public alike. Inside the company, panic spread. Employees threatened to walk out. Key talent questioned their loyalty. And for the first time, cracks appeared in the carefully curated image of a unified mission. What few outside observers understood was the complexity of the forces at play. OpenAI had grown too fast, and its ambitions had become entangled with the interests of powerful investors and partners. Microsoft, with its multi-billion-dollar stake and control over the supercomputing infrastructure, had influence that few could openly acknowledge. The very organization that promised to safeguard humanity's future now faced internal conflicts that revealed the fragility of its idealistic vision. Altman's departure was short-lived, but it exposed something far more significant. The company's future wasn't determined by mission statements or public promises. It was shaped by a complex power dynamic. The people who controlled resources, partnerships, and strategic access were the ones making the decisions that ultimately guided OpenAI's path. Employees could innovate, researchers could publish, and users could interact with ChatGPT. But the levers of ultimate control were held by a few, largely invisible forces. And here's the hidden layer most people didn't see. Every decision about what AI can do, how it's released, and who gets access is part of a quiet negotiation. It's a balance between risk, profit, and influence, played out behind closed doors. While the public sees only polished launches and friendly interfaces, inside OpenAI, power struggles quietly determine the pace of innovation, the boundaries of knowledge, and the shape of the AI that billions rely on every day. The deeper question emerges almost silently, but it grows louder with every breakthrough. If the mission of OpenAI depends on people with conflicting priorities, can a company genuinely safeguard humanity while simultaneously chasing funding, partnerships, and global influence? And more importantly, when the stakes are the future of artificial intelligence itself, whose vision will ultimately prevail? The answer isn't found in press releases or interviews. It's written in the decisions made in hidden boardrooms, where influence, ambition, and control quietly dictate the evolution of ChatGPT and the AI revolution. All the threads we've followed, from OpenAI's noble beginnings to the transformation into a capped profit company, the hidden influence of Microsoft, the control of data, the hidden costs of free AI, and the power struggles inside the organization, they all lead to one undeniable truth. OpenAI isn't just building tools like ChatGPT, It's building a system with the potential to reshape the very fabric of society. And the people steering that system are operating in ways the public rarely sees, fully aware of the influence they wield over what the world will know, learn, and create. ChatGPT, which millions interact with daily, is not neutral. Every word it generates, every response it provides, is filtered through decisions made by a few key actors. Data curation, infrastructure control, investment priorities, and internal governance. All of these quietly guide the AI's abilities, its accessibility, and even the scope of knowledge it shares. The intelligence that seems boundless is constrained not by technology, but by human choices. And here's the final layer most people miss. OpenAI's mission to make AI safe and beneficial for humanity is not in conflict with profit or partnerships. The real tension lies in the balance between rapid technological growth and the unseen influence that shapes it. Every breakthrough, every public-facing AI, carries with it the fingerprints of those controlling the systems behind the scenes. In other words, the AI you see isn't just a product. It's a reflection of priorities, compromises, and strategic decisions made far beyond the eyes of its users. Even the warnings from Elon Musk about artificial intelligence, once dismissed as hyperbole, begin to feel prescient. The technology is powerful, and while OpenAI talks about safety, much of the control rests in the hands of a select few who understand the risks and the opportunities better than anyone outside the inner circle. The loops we've seen, the questions about ownership, funding, data, free access, and power, are not separate mysteries. They are all pieces of a single puzzle, revealing the truth. OpenAI is not just shaping AI, it is shaping the future of knowledge, influence, and control itself. So the final question emerges, the one the company cannot answer publicly. Are these systems being guided to protect humanity, or are they being guided by forces whose priorities may not align with the world we think we know? The answers will define the trajectory of AI, the fate of innovation, and the invisible hands that influence the decisions shaping our digital future. ChatGPT is only the beginning. And the truth is far larger than any interface, any claim of openness, or any promise of free access. The future is being written now, behind doors few will ever see, and its impact will reach far beyond what anyone can yet imagine.